Okay, so let's get started. Exploratory online seminar number 69, how to create dashboard with Exploratory. And I like to cover these things today. I like to start with why dashboard and then a why dashboard with Exploratory. Then I'm going to go into like actual kind of sort of like walk through demo of creating the dashboard. And then I like to touch a little bit of what the dashboard viewers or the people you can share the dashboard with can do from, by viewing, not just viewing the dashboard, but also some features that they can take advantage of. Okay, so dashboard is to me or to us, it's a first critical step to create a data culture. I hear a lot of people, depends on the organization, depends on the businesses. But some of the folks was complaining that like, they want to create a data culture. However, they cannot, it's the typical thing is like, there's a data initiative started it, but then somehow it's kind of phased out, going back to the old way, which is basically making decisions based on the intuitions. And so how you can create a data culture that lasts and then also spread in organizations. And I think the first important step is really to create something like dashboard where you can monitor where the business is. And I think that's the first step, but sort of like kind of something called data driven. But eventual goal is data informed. I think that's a really important sort of like a target, right? So what I mean by the data driven is really the first, you want to monitor your business metrics to understand the health of your business. And then by doing so, like you basically accepting the real world or how your business actually really doing in the real world, not wishful thinking. Right. And then also like you establish a criteria or sort of like a threshold based on which you can decide, hey, your business is going good or bad, that kind of stuff. Right. So those are the things that is kind of the first step you want to do. And then that's really the dashboard that comes in. You want to have something like a dashboard. It doesn't have to be dashboard. Is anything's fine as long as you can monitor the consistent standard metrics among the organization, among the teams, among the members. Okay, and then once you have that, then first and finally you can start talking about, hey, like our business is going bad or the business is doing good, or is that really bad or is that really good? Those types of things, right? And then like now data informed, what I mean by is that's where like you want to build a hypothesis, and not just building a hypothesis, but you want to test the hypothesis based on the data. Right. And also like you want to understand what the correlation and causation. I mean, those are different things. So you want to understand like this is a correlation or this is a causation types of things. And these two things get confused easily. But also though, not just the causation, it's even the correlation. Is that really the correlation or is that really happening by chance? So you want to make sure that you have enough data, you have enough trend, you have enough patterns, and that is sort of like reproducible, that like you can kind of count on it, right? So you want to understand this area. And also, finally, you want to use probabilistic thinking with statistical inference. This is something to do with more like probability and the statistics side of things. But nonetheless, I think these are the important things that like you need to make decisions by data informed. So we're not going to talk about data informed thing today. We're really focusing on the first step, which is data driven, by creating the dashboard to monitor the business KPI. Okay, so the why you want to create a dashboard with Exploratory, well, there are a bunch of reasons, but among those, I think there are important 5 reasons that why you want to create a dashboard with Exploratory. These are the 5 things: flexible data wrangling, multiple data sources, various data wrangling steps, and various types of contents. And then last but not least is reproduce and automate. Okay, so here's a dashboard. This is the kind of dashboard you can create with Exploratory. But in order to create this, right? So just imagine like a time spent on creating dashboard. I don't know, like 60 minutes or 3 days, whatever that could be. But when you dig in, if you have created a dashboard ever before, probably you know this, it's actually not really much time on creating dashboard itself. It is really about creating these charts or KPI that you put into dashboard. But then if you have ever created the charts, you probably notice is that most of the time you're creating the charts, you're actually preparing the data or cleaning up the data. Something to do is you are doing the data wrangling, right? So I guess my point here is that it's most of the time you spend on creating dashboard. You think you're creating dashboard, but most of the time you spend is actually preparing and transforming and cleaning that data. We call it data wrangling. So being able to do the data wrangling very flexibly and quickly, efficiently is really the key. And Exploratory is known for making it easy and also more flexibly do the data, doing the data wrangling stuff. So right-hand side, all the data wrangling steps being recorded. And then you can do the data wrangling through the UI by using this something called column header menu. And then you can start building it. You can merge or join multiple data sources, and then you can focus on sort of doing the data wrangling, and also and at the same time you can create. So you can do that in the same thing, those things in the same UI and the same tool. Okay, and the second point is multiple data sources. This can happen often is that some data might be coming from Google BigQuery, some data might be coming from Salesforce and so on. So you can bring all different types of data in the Exploratory, and you don't even have to join them. If you want, you can join, but even you can keep it as a separate things as well, and then create charts, and then you can bring in those charts in a single dashboard. And then another thing is when you create a chart, each chart you can pin. You can use this something called pin to pin to the particular step on the right-hand side. Like I said, when you start doing the data wrangling, there will be a bunch of steps on the right-hand side. But you can decide which step of the data you want to visualize, you want to create a chart for, right? So that means bunch of the charts you created, those charts are not necessarily coming from the same step of the data. Just imagine before filter, after filter. Can be different steps. Before summarize, after summarizing data. It can be the different data. And you can choose and which step of the data you want to visualize. And because of this, now when you create a dashboard, each chart coming from different steps. So not only coming from different data frames, but also within the same data frame, it can come from any step. So that is actually kind of going back to the first point. It's very flexible, do the data wrangling, but also very flexible to creating the charts and then put them in the dashboard. The fourth point is of various types of contents. So let's take a look at this dashboard image, a screenshot. At the top, this is called numbers. You can create these under the chart view. This can be used for typical a KPI. Okay, so you have the number you want to monitor. But also another thing is here is that you can input the text. So by using Markdown, so you can do some formatting and then quickly type, what you have found, what you want to communicate within the dashboard. And then these two, it looks like a chart, but also it's actually coming from the analytics. So in the Exploratory, you have the chart view and analytics view. Under the analytics view, you can do something like, for example, what we are looking at here is a time series forecasting, or the bottom is text analysis. This is word count analysis. Okay, so a bunch of different analytics you can create, and then you can bring those charts in the dashboard as well. So not just the charts, there are various types of the contents you can put in the dashboard. Okay, and the last point is, I think to me personally, is probably one of the most important thing which is the reproducibility. So once you create a dashboard and then up and running, and then now the data source being updated, maybe the database updated or the spreadsheet being updated. In that case, you can click on this checkbox, re-import data. and then click on the run button. And then that will go back into the data sources and then run the SQL query if necessary, or just getting the Google spreadsheet data, whatever, and then bring in the data. And those data being imported go through all those data wrangling steps that are necessary to create these charts. And then it automatically detects what data wrangling step it needs to run behind the scene. And then generate the charts and then generate the dashboard. So you don't really have to figure out like which data you need to import. All you need to do is a checkbox and a click run button. But this is like now, like you have to create, you have to open the exploratory desktop, and then you have to open the project, you have to open the dashboard, right? If you want to automate the whole thing end to end, that you can publish to our server, then you can schedule it. And then as long as the data can be accessed by the exploratory server, meaning you cannot access to the CSV files on your PC, but the data is coming from the Google spreadsheet, the Google Drive, or Amazon Redshift database, or what have you. As long as the exploratory server can access to it, then you can set the schedule. And then this is going to do basically the same thing. Like you go into the data sources, get the data, go through all the data wrangling steps, whatever the steps that are necessary to produce these charts in the dashboard, and then generate the chart, generate the dashboard. And then also, as a bonus, you can check this box called subscribe notification mail if you are the author of this dashboard. If you are the viewer, you are the person somebody invited with, then you can go to the this menu and click on subscribe. Once you subscribe it, every time dashboard gets scheduled, then you will receive the email with the thumbnail with the updated information. So this is what I do. Like every day, like 6 o'clock in the morning, I get this email with the dashboard that with a bunch of KPI that I need to be aware of in the email. So I don't even have to go to the open the exploratory tool or go to the exploratory website. All I need to do is just open the email. I get some of the basic numbers. So that's very convenient. And that's what I mean by automate. So reproduce and automate, those are I think it's very critical part of creating dashboard and using it in exploratory. Okay, enough of the why question. Then let's get into the creating dashboard with exploratory. Okay, so from here, basically, like I want to create the dashboard like this. Okay, but also I like to create a dashboard like this. Looks like a similar, but there's slight difference. And then main thing I like to touch upon is these three things: row and column layout. These are the key things when you design a dashboard layout with exploratory. And then also the number row. That's a new concept that introduced with 6.10, version 6.10, and also the page. Okay, so let's get started with exploratory dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to start creating from scratch. So click on this plus button next to report, and then there's a dashboard and note. Today, like I like to cover this dashboard and demo sales dashboard. And then it will open the different another dialog. Okay, and then it's like an empty screen. All right, so let's start creating the dashboard by inputting charts. But before going though, like I have already created this opportunity data frame. Okay, and this opportunity data frame is getting the data from Salesforce. And then I did a couple of very simple data wrangling to create this data eventually. And then here the chart, some of the chart is coming from the step 5, some of the chart is coming from step 4, some of the charts using filter with a parameter that I'm going to cover that a little bit later. Okay, so there's a bunch of different charts coming from different steps. Okay, so and then like I wanna, oh, sorry, one more thing. And then also like I created this thing called numbers. Okay, so for example, this is like a number of wins. This is like opportunity data. So therefore, like whatever the opportunity like we close is considered a win. So like 18 accounts we close in the last period or something like that. So here's a type called number. Okay, so now like let's start adding the chart. The first thing is click on this add chart and then find the data frame, so which is the opportunity. And then like, I'm going to start adding a chart, maybe win rate by lead. So I'm going to start adding. First, it's like I get it's kind of a big, gigantic thing. This is the edit screen, not the runtime. So like this is where like you start adding the charts and changing, adjusting the size and so on. So therefore, this chart is actually a thumbnail image. It's not actually a real chart itself that you're going to see under the run tab. Okay, then I can add another chart. So here's every time, anytime like you want to add anything, it's always go to this add button. Okay, so I want to add another chart. So maybe this next chart. So I added it. So then like I have two charts. I can change this like a size and like by drag and drop, or I can distribute evenly so that these charts had 50%, 50% width-wise. Okay, then now like I want to add the charts and then at the below. So to do, first you want to add the row, then you can start inserting those charts. Without that, like you cannot add the chart. Every time you click on chart, it's going to keep adding the charts in the selected, this green color selected row. So I'm going to add row above or below, this time the below. So now like I have a top row and below row, I don't know, the bottom row. Okay, and I can create the add chart button, and then like I'm gonna click on this this chart, and then maybe I'm gonna create another chart. I can add another chart as well. At this point, though, you know, like I realize, you know what, like I want to have this particular chart at the bottom row instead of here. So I can drag and drop. All the charts are always like you can drag and drop to move which row you want to have. Okay, so now I have 3 charts inserted. And the next thing I like to do is like add the text. Okay, I want to create a comment section. And then to do, click on the add button. And then instead of a chart, you can, I gotta make sure this row is selected. So whatever the row is selected, and then like when I click on add number, text, anything, that will be added to the selected row. Okay, so now the first row is selected. So if I make mistakes, then like I can always do the drag and drop, right? So it's not like end of the life or anything. But anyway, so here's the add text. And I added the text. You know what? Like I want to move the text to be here. Then you can click on this edit title and text button. Now here like is a text edit mode. Okay, so this is where like you can use a markdown and add the text. And I have already created some of the text here. So something like this, and then I can add maybe a comment, maybe as a title. And here, like I just wanted to quickly touch base on here is that this is something called markdown. So what that means, you can use this like a pound sign to say this is like H1 title, H2 title, H3 kind of stuff. So if it's 1 pound, that means H1 title. The 2 pounds, that means the H2 title, and so on. Okay, another thing is this like asterisk. This can be dash as well, but this creates the bullet point. And if you do like 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, that will create a bullet points with numbers as well. Okay, and then another thing I have here is I create a URL link. So the text, our data catalog, that's the text. And then this is surrounded by square bracket. And then the curly bracket inside, that's the URL. And this will create a URL link. And then this one is kind of underscore at the beginning, at the end. That means whatever the text surrounded by these two will be shown as italic. If this one, these are like asterisk, asterisk, starting asterisk, ending asterisk, then that becomes bold. If you're not sure about all those, you can click on this question mark button, and this will open what the hell is this like markdown text as well. Okay, so now here I'm gonna just click on update, and I get this format nicely. This one is a kind of a preview. So I have the comment, and then I'm gonna just adjust a little bit, and then I can click on Run button to see what the dashboard look like. But before going so, like I want to do one more thing. I want to add the numbers at the top. Okay, so to do, I can click on this add, and then I can add the row above and add the numbers there as well. But there is this thing's specific number row that we added with the latest release. So this time I'm going to use this number row. But before though, like what this sort of like number row is really about, just quickly use a slide. So what I did was like basically something called number row, right? And this is where like you can click on add number and start adding those numbers. This is more like a KPI area. And why we created this is because you could create a regular row where you can drop the charts, but also you can drop those numbers. But if you do it though, this row is sort of like the height of that row is so very flexible, more like based on the page size. So for example, when you open this dashboard, it's bigger browser, then it may be like this, it's all about ratio, right? So it can be maybe like, I don't know, like a 20%, and then other chart area is 40% or 40% or something, then it always a 20%. So like if it's a small screen, that's a small window size of the 20% is going to be this number row. When you open with a bigger, like a PC or a bigger screen, then 20% of the available height, right? So this can be like, what do you call it, dynamically adjusted. But sometimes like this number rows, like you don't want that to keep changing. Like you kind of want to like fix the height. But on the other side, the charts area, maybe like you might want to be adjusted because the charts tend to have more information. So it's actually okay if the chart is get expanded. Okay, so it's a little bit like a requirement is slightly different. So that's why we created something called number row. Number row is always fixed height, regardless of the page, available page size or page area. Okay, so that's the fundamental difference. So if you don't have that kind of problem, like you can just use a regular row as well. But anyway, so like I added the number row, and then like I can find these numbers, and in this row, particularly like this blue area, you can select only number. You cannot select the chart. Okay, so I'm going to add those, and then once I add it, like if I want to keep adding, click on the add button, add number, and then I'm going to do one more number. So I have 3 numbers being added, and then again, if I want to change the size, I can do the drag and drop as well. Okay, so that looks good, and then from at this point, I can just click on Run button. All right, so now here is a dashboard. So like I have like 3 numbers and 1 text comment area, and then 3 different charts. Okay, and at this point, for example, if I click on this re-import data, and if I click Run button, what this is going to do is this dashboard is going to find like, hey, what are the data sources that are used for these charts? In this particular case, I'm using only 1 data frame. So like that means only 1 data source. But imagine like each chart are coming from different data frames, and then those data frames coming from different data sources. And it will detect those data sources and get the data, and then do the necessary data wrangling step and create the charts and regenerate the dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck this one because I don't need to do that right now. But now from here, what I like to do is that I like to introduce another layout. Right now, like we've been using rows, but we can use the column layout. Okay, to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another page, and that's also the new features with the 6.10. Okay, so I'm going to click on plus button to create a new tab, or I can copy or duplicate this existing page as a new page. So I'm kind of lazy, so like I'm going to use this duplicate to start with. So I have created it. Now I have 2, just to make sure like these are the kind of identifiable. So like I'm going to rename it. This is maybe opportunity. And then this one is also opportunity. So this is maybe, I'm going to just say part 2 or something. Okay. And then now like I'm on the opportunity part 2 page. And then I'm going to switch to column format, column layout. So what this is going to do is it's almost like looking same, right? So like if I just click on round button, this slight kind of a height difference. But if at this point, if I generate it, this dashboard is going to look like the one like we had already. But what this column layout is cool about is that now instead of like adding row as for designing the dashboard, now this mode is going to keep adding column, left-hand side and right-hand side. Okay, so let's say like I want to add a column on the left-hand side and I click on add button, column left. Okay, so now see this area is being added. And then like, what I want to do is like I can add the chart, and this is especially convenient for some kind of chart that is that looks better when you have sort of like vertically in a long way. So what I mean by that, like I'm going to select this chart, drop it. Okay. And then this chart is like a horizontal bar chart, but this number of the bars are, I think it was like a 20 or 25 or something. So it's nicer to have the longer area so that you can see all the text label for all those bars. Okay. So now like, and then now width is kind of slightly different. So I want to adjust it. And then again, like I'm going to use this distribute and then distribute width evenly. So like now like 1, 2, 3. It's evenly distributed. And then maybe I can add the charts in this center area. Okay, so how am I gonna add it? Again, add the chart. And then now, like remember, because this column is selected, so if I click on add chart, that chart will be dropped into this column. Okay, let's see here, chart, and I'm gonna drop this like a pivot table. And I click OK. And then that chart will be dropped right here. And then from here, you know what, like I want to have this like a comment area, the different column. And then I want to bring this chart into here and then maybe adjust the size a little bit and so on. Okay. So now I have nicely like one chart on the left-hand side, this like a long chart, and then like 3 charts in the middle column, and actually one chart on the right-hand side and then one comment on the right-hand side. But notice this, the number row is still the same. So but this number row there's always number row, regardless of column layout or row layout. There is no number column yet. So it's only rows at this point. Okay, so now here I'm gonna click on round button and how that dashboard looks like. And then this is what I mean. This bar chart is like kind of a long, has a bunch of bars. So it's nicer to have a kind of a longer area, vertically long area. And then other charts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have that kind of layout. So it's nicely fit. And then like I have a comment area, numbers area, and so on. But also here, I have 2 pages. So like one is opportunity, another one is opportunity part 2. And obviously you're not gonna have this kind of like a same information on the multiple pages. Typically in the different pages, you have the different contents or maybe the charts from different data frames and so on. But this is for the demo's sake, I just copied it. So like that's why most of the contents is similar. Okay, so now we have the one is column layout, the other one is a row layout. And then we have created these 2 pages. So this is basically the kind of a nutshell of like how you can create the dashboard. Okay, but from here though, another topic I like to cover is something called parameter. So here, like you see the right-hand side top parameter bottom. When I click on it, and there are a bunch of parameters show up. I just created this dashboard from scratch, right? And then I don't remember I added these parameters. And that is because these parameters are necessary or used for creating maybe some of the charts or some of the numbers. And then when I go back to the data frame, those where those charts are coming from. For example, this chart. Okay, this chart is pointing to the step 5. And when I look at the page 5, for example, this probability, this is a filter, but this filter is actually using a parameter called probability. Happen to be the name of the name of the parameter and the name of the column happen to be the same, so it's kind of confusing. But that parameter is being used. So whatever the parameters being used for producing the chart are sort of like consolidated and presented as a dashboard automatically. So when you create a dashboard, you don't have to select which parameter you want to bring in. All the required parameter will be added to the dashboard automatically. And then all you need to do is you can change the layout. For example, click on this layout button, and then you know what, like I want to have the stage at the top, or maybe actually the probability at the top, or you can do that. Also, like maybe some of the parameter I don't want to show it into this dashboard, even though they're used, but I don't want to expose to our users, and you can do that as well. Okay, and then. Other thing is, so what's this parameter? So for example, here's a second parameter called type. Oh, it turned out this is just a filter. This one is like an opportunity type. And I think the opportunity type is like this a couple values. And I would actually expose this as a parameter. So right now, as a type is like, let's go back to this, go to the summary view. And then when I see where is the type, do you see here type? Okay, here. There you go. There's 3 types, right? So, and then like maybe like I go back to previous step. Yeah, there's 3 types. And then like I want to expose this as a parameter so that the users I share this dashboard with can actually manipulate the values of the parameters. So to do, I can select, check this parameter checkbox. And then it lists all the parameters are appropriate, optimized for this particular operator, which is like multiple value select. Okay, and then what that means is that yeah, here I'm going to select the opportunity type and click run button. And then it looks like, what happened to the opportunity type? Well, it turned out you can open this parameter button by clicking on right-hand side top. Okay, and then click on the setup button. That's one way to access the parameter. Otherwise, you can also access the parameter from this project menu as well. Here, look at parameter icon. And either way, you can open this parameter dialog. And then like, I created this opportunity type parameter before this seminar. So this opportunity type parameters, I'm going to just give you a quick introduction. It's just a name and a data type. And then here is a key part. This one is a multi-select. You can create as a text input or single select and so on. And also the way you create a parameter is you can enter value manually. Let's say like, hey, you know what, like value is new users, a new customer, the display name is this, and you can start typing it. Or you can actually get the value from the data frame that you're looking at, or the data frame from, different data frame that are not directly used. And whatever the data frame you select, you can even select which step of the data you're talking about. Typically, you want to select a step before the parameter area, right? Because otherwise you're pointing to yourself. And then you can select which column. So that's how you create the parameters. And I'm not going to go into detail of the parameters, but if you like to know more about the parameters, you can go to our website and go to the how-to tutorial page under the Learn menu. And then like you can type parameter, or this how-to section, when you scroll down, there's a parameter menu. Click on that, and then that will create this search. And then like, this is a seminar that I have done before, so you might want to take a look at. Okay, so nonetheless, so this is a parameter, and then I have, save, that's good. And using parameter, the parameter can be created for like filter step, or even like muted, create calculation as part of a calculation, or as part of a SQL query, Or as part of, in this case, a Salesforce data, you can create the filter inside a data source and then make that a parameter as well. Or sometimes you can create a parameter in this level as well, like chart filter. This one is using the parameter in the filter inside the chart. Okay, so then going back to the here, when I open this parameter button, did you notice here? So here's the opportunity type because I transform the filter, one of the filter for the opportunity type used to be just a regular filter, but I parameterized it. So now in order to generate some of the charts, it needs to have this parameter now. So that's why it's showing up here. Okay, and then I can interact with it, or I can just publish this dashboard to the server, and then I or somebody else I share with can interact with the dashboard. So let's do that here. So like I'm gonna click on the publish button, and then I'm gonna share with the public mode. Usually, like you want to do the private mode. So in that case, you check. And then at the server, you can select who you can share with. Okay. Another thing is here's a download option. I'm going to check this CSV button because there's something that I like to show you. So check the CSV button. Then I'm going to publish as a team or as an individual. This time I'm going to publish myself and I click OK. And this one is basically generating not just a dashboard, but also creating those CSV data for each chart. And why that's important is if I click on this like open browser, okay, and then here it is. So now this is a dashboard that I have. One thing you immediately notice is the right-hand side. Here's a parameter. Now parameter is now can be shown up as part of the page. And then so that anybody open this dashboard, we realize, oh, there's a parameter, looks like I can use. And in order to use it, you want to click on this button to make it as a parameter mode or interactive mode. And at this point, there's a instance being allocated for this particular dashboard. Therefore, like you can, your users can interact with this dashboard. And then here, maybe like I'm going to change the probability and then maybe opportunity type. I want to just focus on the new, and then maybe upgrade customers and I click run button. And then this will rerun the query, not the query, the rerun the necessary data wrangling step. What I mean by that is here, whatever the parameter I change, this time I change the probability and type. So only this particular part was rerun. That means, for example, this chart is not pointing to that step 5. So this chart data is not getting affected at all. And also it doesn't rerun these 1, 2, 3, 4 steps because I changed only these parameter values. What happened like if I change the parameter of this parameter, stage parameter, then what it's going to do is it only regenerate this chart, but not the step 5 or not the charts that are pointing to step 5 or step 4, whatever, because this parameter is only for this particular chart. Okay, but nonetheless, so that's the parameter. And then like if I go back in here and I can interact with it. So, but sometimes you might not want to show this parameter as part of the page. Hey, they're taking up all the space. In that case, you can click on this menu and then there's a parameter setting. And I click on this show the parameter pane on top of the page. And then that is going to do is if I click on the update button, and then the parameter doesn't show up until you click on this parameter button. And that will overlay the parameter on top of the dashboard. So when you have a bunch of the stuff and you don't really have much space for the parameter, and this might be the option that you might want to use. Okay. And then we have 2 pages. You remember we created 2 pages. So like now your user can go switching back and between those 2. Okay. And then now from here, do you notice here? So there are 3 charts and the right-hand side top, there are 2 buttons. One is the easier one. So like you click on this expand, and then like now you have the entire dashboard area to show one chart. The other one is a download button or export button. And this is why I selected, when I did a publish button, click on the publish button, I selected the CSV. As long as you check the CSV, then this export chart data menu shows up. If you didn't, then you don't have this export chart data. But still, you can export the chart image. So now, like, you can go to each chart, and then like maybe, you know what, like I want to see this data. And this is especially useful like when you're sharing with somebody who are not necessarily using Exploratory. They might be using Excel or other BI tool, but they're still interested in particular data being used in this, any chart, and they can download that data as well. So this is not only for the charts, but also this type of pivot table, summarized table, or table. Any type of the things that you create under the chart, except these numbers, can be downloaded as a data or the chart image as well, and also including analytics. Okay. And then after that, like basically here is a schedule button. This schedule button shows up only when your dashboard is using the data from the data source that are accessible from Exploratory server, meaning like a database and cloud data source, or remote data sources like a Google Drive or Amazon S3 and so on. You're not going to see this schedule button if you're creating a dashboard with the locally saved, your PC locally saved CSV or Excel files and so on. Okay. I think that's probably it. Oh, one more thing I forgot to say. Here is also, there's a this menu is bottom is this is a comment button. So whenever you have a comment, it will show up in here. And where this comment is coming from, the comment is coming from the chart. So this particular chart, I gotta find a chart right here, and I made a comment here. Okay. So you can make comments for at each chart level, and then whenever the comment you make, that will show up in the dashboard as well. So you can create some sort of like you know, your findings or interactions and so on as well. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I think, let me make sure I covered all that. Okay, so just to summarize, today I covered you know, why dashboard with Exploratory, and then like how to create a dashboard with Exploratory, and then like I introduce some of the features from the viewer point, dashboard viewer point of view. Main thing is when you create a dashboard, there is a row layout, and there is another thing called column layout. So between these two, each page you can set different layout. Okay, but so like you can, and also you can switch, like you started with column and then later on, like you realize the row is better, you can switch that as well. And then basic experience of designing a dashboard is a kind of drag and drop. You can use the drag and drop, and not really drop, but you can drag to adjust the width or height. And also you can do the drag and drop, changing the chart position. You can bring the one chart from one column to other columns and so on. And then you can add various types of contents quickly. So you can add the numbers and charts and analytics and text. And then, but also using this text area, you can even import images as well. And then you can organize the contents by using these pages. Okay, so these are the new, relatively new features. And then lastly, like the features for viewers. So you can expand the chart by clicking on the expand button. You can see the comment at each chart level. And also you can export the chart image and the chart data. Okay. And then, by the way, the chart data or chart image, sometimes I hear some of the users use Exploratory and create a bunch of charts and then take the screenshot or export the images and put them or paste them in a PowerPoint or a Keynote presentation slides. Okay, and then they have to do that like every time they meet the clients or they go to the meeting or something. The problem is sometimes the data source gets updated, or maybe data wrangling steps gets updated. That means you might have to take all the screenshots again or export all the images again, which is cumbersome because you have to find a data frame and open it and find a chart and open it. But if you have some requirements like that, I'd suggest put all those charts in the dashboard using the page or not using the page. And then like, every time like you need to retake those screenshots or export the images, you run the dashboard. And then like now the dashboard has the latest images, right? And then like you go to click on that export image. So that way, if you have 10 images, you always have to create, then all you're dealing with is now the dashboard, right? So that's another way of using the dashboard, clever way. Okay, so that's it for today. And then our online seminar page is on our website. Go to Learn, and then you can find the online seminar. And the online seminar page, you can find the future seminar schedules and also the past recording as well. And also, don't forget going to Learn, and under the Learn, how-to tutorials and a video. These are the, probably some of the useful contents when you are using Exploratory. And if you can't find, please use the chat window inside Exploratory or on our website and ask any questions as well. Okay. And then lastly, like my information is my email is kan@exploratory.io. Or we have the Twitter account, Exploratory Data. Please follow us. And if you have any question, feel free to contact me. Okay, that's it for today. And I'd like to open the Q&A session.